Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited Podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we're talking about want and need. And we are asking the question, do we need them both? Welcome everyone to Make Limited Podcast with your host John here. I am super excited that you are joining us today from all around the world. I'm super excited from wherever you're listening to. Thank you so much for tuning in today because we have an amazing topic that we're talking about today, which is want and need. And in the end, we're going to ask the question, what we're going to solve. We're going to give you an answer. Do we need them both? Do we need want and do we need need? Are they necessary to our lives? Okay? That's what we're going to go into. But before I do it, I want to give you the greatest news of all, and that is that we have a website running for Make Limited Podcast. You can find us on makelimitedpodcast.com, and you can also find us now on Amazon Music. So if you do listen to music on Amazon, you can find us there on the podcast section, and you can find us on Make Limited Podcast. You can type that in and we will pop out and you can see all the episodes, the season 1, season 2 that we are in right now, and we're super excited that we are there. It's just so awesome that we can be distributed through a bunch of podcasts that you, our listeners, are listening to, and the word can be going to you, to your life, to make you better humans in this world. And that's what we are hoping for, wishing for, desiring for, all of the above, to really bring you the best things in life that we have turned around and made something of it. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about our want and need, and do we need them both? So with no further ado, let's get into our first point. Alright guys, so for point number 1, we're going to go into want. We're going to go down to the nitty-gritty and talk about it right away. So number 1 is going to be want. And like you know me so well, I love to give you definitions so that we can be on the right context of words. So we're talking about want. What does that mean according to our dictionary, according to what humans have defined this word to be? So let's take a look. Want. Want is defined as have a desire to possess or do something. In other words, wish for, right? That's what want is. Let's talk a little bit about want before I go into my 2 points about want. Now, when I heard want, right, when I was younger, want was talked about very negative, and it would switch with the word desire. And I think people did this unconsciously, maybe because they didn't know exactly the definition of the word want, or I don't know. It could be for whatever reason, but I always looked at want as a negative context. It was like, oh, I can't want something because it's just a want, right? And then I started developing my thought about want, and it started turning into like, okay, well, you want something, but you got to decide what you want, right? You got to prioritize your wants because you need the need first, and that was the beginning of it. Need became better than want. Want became lesser than need because you needed to prioritize. So you needed only to focus on need, and want was a luxury. And that's what I was, taught in a sense But when it came to like, oh, you need to have a desire to do something with your life. You need to have a desire to like, go and help people and so on and so forth. And I believe that that word was in a way a better use for want. So when we look at the word want and we see its definition, which means again, have a desire to possess or do something, wish for, right? We're going to go into it because I kind of want to break that negativity and want to give you a different perspective of want. Because, like I heard one of my mentors talk about one time where he told a story about how he thought that golf was a dumb game, right? Because he had heard Bill Cosby, or on TV, because Bill Cosby was super huge on TV, that he had mentioned that golf was a dumb game and that it was just people wasting their time just hitting a ball into a hole. But then as he was older and he was able to be invited to this golf game that he first refused like one or two times until they were persistent, the person who was asking him to go with them, he saw it in a different view. Because when he went to golf and he started seeing the person who took him to this golf course, he would start seeing celebrities. He started seeing like people who were like known main names and were playing on this golf. The guy told him, this is where deals are made. And he started seeing that in that field, it was people making deals as they were playing golf. It was a way to make better deals, make big deals, so that something could happen. Now, he started seeing it different because he started seeing that people that were going there had his money, in a sense, right? Had his money because he could see business work being done there, agreements of, or collaborations, or whatever the business, shaking hand would be. But he saw it in a different perspective, but he was told from the beginning from one person on a TV that that game was dumb. But yet towards the older life, he realized that it wasn't a dumb game, that it was actually very exciting to go to this golf course because it changed the game in his life, business-wise. So that's what I want to give you today. I want to change the game for you on want. Okay, so we're going to go first into number one, which I want to talk about desire. Okay, desire. Now I'm going to give you both negative and positive on this word want. And so I'm talking about desire. Number one is desire. And desire simply means a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. Desire. For me, when I hear the word desire, it's a positive notation, right? Connotation. It's something that when you tell somebody you need to have a desire to do something with your life, and you need to be like like one of my other mentors as well says, you need to be hungry. I'm pretty sure you've seen that video, and the thing is, that's pretty much what desire is. Desire is a strong feeling to do something. You are on this podcast today, Make Living, because you have a strong desire to really make something out of pretty much what life has given you. And, like myself, when I went to the whole heart attack situation, after I, passed the time, I was able to go through the whole process. I had a desire to help people. I had a desire to want to tell my story, because this is what went through my mind. If I went alone or felt alone through this process, I don't want other people to feel that, but I want them to have someone who talks about their story and that they can feel that they are not alone in this situation. And so I went to YouTube, where it was a a good place that I could share videos that I talk about my situation. And so I did. And out of that desire, that one desire, other things came to be. I started focusing more on my film career. I started focusing more on developing my education. So, a desire is nothing more than a strong feeling. Okay? A strong feeling to do something you wish for. I think that's why a lot of people would say that want is wishful thinking. Because it's not something that is set in stone, it's not something that is solid, but it's something that you just think about, you dream about. And you're like, man, I wish, right? I wish, I wish, I wish, I wish. A strong feeling for something. And so, in talking about desire and having a strong feeling towards something, and to really, really reach your goals, really do something with your life, I want to talk about the second point, which is own. Okay? Own. And this is all going to fall together. Own is defined as use with a possessive to emphasize that someone or something belongs or relates to the person or thing mentioned. That right there for me, let me tell you something, okay? And this is the thing about want, okay? I believe in a relationship, when you want someone, you have to understand what you're saying. When you're saying that you want someone, you're saying that you have strong feelings towards that person, right? That you want to have something of them. But the next time that you talk about want in a relationship, I want you to understand that when you're saying you want something, you are saying that I want to have possession, I want to have ownership of that person. And I think in no world should any human own any human. Because every human has the right to live, the right to do with their life, because they have that freedom. And I believe that freedom comes with a responsibility to do good with their lives. But if you put in own in want, then you start realizing that if you take that own into your life, you start realizing that you're saying when you want something in your life, you want to have this possession over it. Okay? So when you're saying, I want to have a good job, I want to have a good career. If you're asking for something that someone else owns, you're asking to be in possession of nothing. But you're receiving someone else's possession and going under that. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that, again, working for someone is a bad thing, because many people do it and it's a way of living. And here, the only thing that I choose to really encourage is for you to do something with your life that you want to do. Something that you desire to do with your life. You want to reach your goals. You want to reach your dreams. There's one thing that I always say when I hear people talk about their dreams. And I say this. They tell me their dreams and they talk about how much money their dream is gonna make them. And I tell them, look, find what you want to do. The reason why I tell you that is because I want you to find that one thing that you want to do. Because if you want to make money and that is your main goal, then go and make money instead of going into a job or going into a career or going to fulfilling something that your desire is not in. Why? Because you are not going to be satisfied with that desire. And the thing is that when you go into a want, when you go into a desire and you're trying to reach your dreams, the thing with that is it's not always going to get you rich. It's not always going to get you rich. Some things may not. But if you are really seeking after money, then my advice would be go after money. Are you going to find happiness? Are you going to find, fulfillment? I think that in a sense, money does not bring happiness, but I do believe that money does solve your problems, which in a sense will bring relief. And relief and happiness are two different things. Relief is something that you feel pressure from and it is relieved from you. Versus happiness is an emotion. And so, in saying those things, when you talk about owning something, I want you to see it in the perspective of you having a possession over it because it belongs to you. When you have a job, they give you a position. That position belongs to you. That is your ownership of that position. But it is not a permanent. And that's why I encourage people when they do something, choose something in your life, a desire or your wishful thinking, right? But a desire to, when you want to own something, when you say, I want something, that it is something that you can own. We cannot own humans, and you cannot own something that someone else has already, right? So you need to find that place where you can have ownership of. And ownership means to really take care of something because it belongs to you. It relates to you. Every time that ownership is mentioned, your name should come up. And why is it important for this? Because it's your want. It's your desire to have something. So when you choose your career path, when you choose what you want to do, you want to start your own business, you want to start a career, whatever it is, you want to choose something that you can have ownership of. Why? Because when you have ownership of something and you go into your desires and you completely immerse yourself in it, opportunities go in there and come out and leave room for you to be able to go into those opportunities. But yet, if you don't have ownership, then you're going to need permission. You're going to need, in a sense, have meetings after meetings to accomplish that one thing that you want to do. That's why I say have ownership over what you want. But remember, you cannot have ownership over humans or something that someone else owns. So we're talking about want, okay? Want. Want is a desire, and want is a ownership of something. Now that we know what want is, let's move into need, because I think this is one's going to be very, very powerful for you. So let's get into it. All right, point number 2, need. Today we're talking about want and need, and we're asking the question, do we need them both? So let's go point number 2, need. What does that mean? Well, simply, it just means require something because it is essential or very important. That is its definition. Require something because it is essential or very important. That's it right there. So let's go with point number 1, which is requirement. Okay? Now, let's talk about need before I go into requirement, because that is point number 1. So write that down and we're going to go into it right now. So growing up, for me, need was always a positive thing, right? When you need something in your life, it's because you need it. It is important for you to have in your life. For example, food. As humans, we need food because it is essential for our, you got it, for our bodies, for us to keep on living on this earth, right? We need water and we need food. We have created many liquid things that we can drink, but ultimately I think the one that I always encourage is water. Secondly, food, right? Another thing that as humans we made it something that we needed, and that is clothing. We need clothing, right? To cover us, to protect us from outside stuff, clothing. And everything has come down to literally cater for our bodies as humans. Anything that we have that we need, right? We've created chairs. Why? Because we didn't want to stand up all the time. So we needed something that could hold our weight while we sit down. And it was a chair. When we wanted to drink water, we used to drink it from our hands, but then we decided to make a cup because we needed to have water held somewhere that we could hold with our hands and drink out of instead of drinking with our hands. Shoes, socks were made necessary because we didn't want to walk barefoot on the ground and wanted to protect our feet as much as we could. All these things that we have made as humans were in the aspects of need because we needed them, right? Now, let's talk about number 1, requirement. Now that we know exactly need and where perspective we're looking at it from, we're talking about requirements. Number 1. Now, requirement simply is a thing that is needed or wanted. That is it. It is a thing that is needed or wanted. We talked about food, and water, how it was something that we required and needed, right? So, my question to you is, in your life right now, what is something that you require as a must need in your life? Think about it for a second. Marinate on it. Requirement. What is that I need right now? And think about it in the sense of it's very, very important. Something. You require it because it's very, very important in your life. Because I want you to understand the difference between want and need. We're going to go over it on the 3rd point. But requirement is a thing that is needed. Okay? It's not something that, you just need. It's needed. Okay? It is necessary for you to have. And if you don't have it, you can't live without it. right? And I think in that sense, we like to choose or make need even more, I would say, important than want, because we look at need as something that needs to be priority in our lives. And because of its priority, we decide to put it first before wants. Many of us would agree, right? Because it is something that we absolutely, completely need in our life. And I want to emphasize that because I think it's very important for us to hear the need aspects of it. Okay, because in the third point, we're going to go over and we talk about need and want, and we're going to answer the question, is it needed in our lives? Now, giving you some time to think about some of the things that you need that are required in your life. And it's super amazing to see how many people will write down in their lives and then realize that some of their needs are actually wants. And so now that we know what requirement is a need, something that you absolutely can't live without, it is needed for you. Let's go into point number 2, which is essential. Essential is absolutely necessary, extremely important. There are two words that are super, I say, in conjunction with need. Essential. The word essential is absolutely necessary and extremely important. What is absolutely necessary in your life? For me, absolutely essential is water and food. Absolutely. Because when I look at my life, and this is only me, this is the way that I look at it, right? When I look at my life, I see that there's some things that are meaningless, that we go over our lives over and over again and doing the same thing. For example, I've talked about before our economic system, the way it works. We literally use things, rocks, trees, things that belong to this earth, and we literally take it, make it into something, and we say that this has value, and now we give it to people in order for them to buy stuff with credit, paper, and now we're doing digital money, Bitcoin. And I'm so amazed on how people want to make themselves rich and want to make themselves so wealthy to the point of just like investing super early and going all in. Like I've seen like people who have like computers of the computers, and they're saying that they're mining and they're looking out for some other companies of what people are doing with this stuff and how many money's coming out, and they're mining. And I'm so intrigued at how people would spend money on things that literally this earth gives, and we turn around and we charge it to someone else. I think that's crazy. I know there's so many fundamental things that you would want to say, like for example, it takes work, it takes labor, it takes time, and that's something that I should get paid for, and I understand. But if they take all of that away, if they take buying stuff, selling stuff away, if they take money away, digital money away, if they do all that, do away with all that, what are you left with? Many of us would say, well, we're back to the Stone Age. And I refuse to believe that, because we have the technology to do things without charging each other, without really, saying, I'm going to do this because, I need to make money. I need to do this because I need to do that. If we all took that away, and instead of living in a world that you have to pay for things, if everything was free, and you know how I see freedom as responsibility. If we're all free in the sense of, you know what, you need a house, we're going to build you a house because you need a house, right? And we're going to build your house that you need, that is essential to you, that is a requirement to you. You're one person, you want a house that is nice, we're going to make you a house that is nice, right? For another example of family has, let's say, 5 kids, husband, wife, a dog. We're going to make you a house according to the people you have. Some of us would say that's unfair because they get a bigger house and I'm one person, I get a smaller house. But it is essential and a requirement towards what you have. Essentially, what you have. So, in that world, we are looking at things very different when it comes to need. Because if you think about it, our need right now comes from the lack of not having something, right? So, if you lack money, you need money. Why? Because it's essential to buy stuff so that you could buy food, have a place to store food, have a place to cook food, and have a place to clean the dishes that you use for food. Essential. And from that, it's like a ripple. So you have now a fridge, a refrigerator, you have a stove, an oven, you have a sink, but now you need to take care of those things. So what's essential is that you have soap, that you have cleaning material, that you have dish soap, of course, cleaning material, that you're cleaning your refrigerator. But now your refrigerator breaks down. Your oven is dirty. Your sink needs repairment. Now you need other essential things. You need somebody who knows how to fix the fridge. You need somebody who can clean the oven, which would be yourself or someone else that you tell to clean your oven. You need to fix your sink, whether you pay someone else to do it or you do it yourself, which means you're still going to have to buy stuff to repair those things. And then that stuff has to either be repurchased or you're going to have to see when you're going to have to repurchase again so that you can fix it again because it's going to happen. Right? And that goes with everything pretty much that we build in this world. There's a time where you need to repair it because it gets old, right? Or it breaks or something happens that it's no longer usable, so we need to repair it. We need to get a new one. And so on, our world is built around things that we lack, and in turn it becomes things that we need. And we like to say that they are requirements and essential because they're absolutely necessary and extremely important, and it's a thing that we need or want. So in your life, what is absolutely a requirement and essential? Because for me, everything that is material is replaceable. Everything. I know how things are because I've done it myself. When you build stuff with your own hands, when you pay stuff with your own money, when you do, it's a little bit more important for you because you earned it, you made it, and I can extremely relate. And I'm not saying that they're not important, but what I am saying is that things in our lives, if we see it through a different perspective of material things can be replaced. For me, those are things that are not essential. They're not even things that categorize and want. I'm bold enough to say that because they are replaceable. It may be a little different. It may be a little, better or May not be the way you thought it was, but it's replaceable. The only thing that I would say that is extremely a need is human life. And the reason why I say human life is because we are at the top of the food chain, and it is up to us to make this world a better place. It is up to us to make this world and our animals and our plants better. Take care of them. And that's why it's essential for us to care and be the need. Take care of each other, take care of one another. Why? Because it's very, very important. That would be the only thing that I would categorize as absolutely necessary. We have made things for us humans because it is absolutely necessary. Some people can't see a 20/20 vision, and they have to get contacts, or they have to get lenses, lenses. They have to get glasses because it is essential for them so that they can see clearly. That's what I mean, that humans are the need. Because it is essential for us to take care of ourselves, take care of others. Very essential. But we cannot do it without taking care of ourselves first, so that we can take care of others. Very, very important. And again, I must remind you that freedom is a responsibility. And with that, we're going to go into point number 3, because it's all going to come together on what want and need are. Do we need them both? Let's find out. Alright guys, so we have come to point number 3. We are talking about the question answered. And that question is, do we need them both? Who are them? That is want and need. And to answer your question, here it is. Are you absolutely ready? Yes, you are. Now, do we need them both? The answer to that is yes. We need them both. Now, in my opinion, they are one and the same. Meaning that they work together. They are united. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want you to see as want as negative, and I don't want you to see need as positive only, because they both have positives and negatives. And what I mean with positive and negatives and everything that I talk about in this podcast, it means good or bad. Is it something that will benefit you or will harm you? Okay? That's what I mean when I say positive and negative. So I believe that they're one and the same, and they both have their positive and negatives. When you want something, an ownership, for example, and this is one thing that I like to say to people who are talking about relationships, and is this: when you want someone, when you say you want them, when you say, I want this puppy, I want this person, I want, right? You're talking about ownership. You're talking about having a desire to own a human. Right? Let me put it into more simple context and more of a, I want to say, direct, I would say, more detail, I say. If a boy or a girl says that they want the opposite sex, they're saying that I want to own the opposite sex. I know it's very, very crazy to think about it in this sense, but you're saying that you want to own someone. Do you have a desire to own that title of boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, that you want to own that person, and that is your desire? Sometimes you just want to own the title of that person so that you can claim it. I have a boyfriend. I have a girlfriend. I have a husband. I have a wife. And those are things that you want to claim. But as you're claiming them, you are literally putting a label of ownership on that person. That you own them and they belong to you. And that's when I say that it becomes a dangerous relationship, because now somebody owns someone, and that now becomes either slavery, or that becomes, in a sense, obsession of having control over someone's decisions, someone's mind, someone's body, someone's features, and things happen that you are no longer one person, but you are now an owned person. And let me explain that little piece. When I say you're no longer one person, I believe this one thing. I know a lot of people, and I know this is not a relationship podcast, but I believe it's essential to everything in our lives. When you are one in yourself, you're a whole, you're a complete. You're no longer looking for someone to complete you, because your glass is full. When you meet someone else you're full and their cup is empty, or empty, or half full or half empty, in some way they're going to want to have, or for you to make them complete. That right there is very dangerous. When a person says that you complete them, means that they're not a complete character, and by all means they're going to try to complete themselves either by taking who you are or making you complete them by you giving them stuff that they need to complete their lives. Whether it be a relationship, whether it be, your character, and they take on that character on them, and then they start living life just like you or the other significant other, and they start living life like that. And when the breakup comes, they are devastated, because through the whole time they were trying to be this whole person, this half person before, and then you came and they say that you completed them, but then that means that when you leave, they are again back to that 50-50. And now they're even probably 10 times worse and are completely empty, because you took everything that they thought you were. And that's why we get a lot of broken relationships, broken people, because it comes to the point that they want a title, they want a person, they want to have something, but without realizing that they're claiming ownership of someone, and that ownership comes with the price. And that price is someone's character. That price is someone's security or self-belief of themselves, their worthiness. So that's when it comes down to positive and negatives. Do not want something that is human, and do not want something that belongs to someone else, because it's very, very dangerous to get into that field, and it destroys a lot of lives. It destroys a lot of lives when you want something, because it's ownership. That's what you got to realize. I don't know if you realize what an ownership is. Okay? You have possession over something. Okay? That means that you have a hold of them, and it's you telling them what to do. I know, that is one of the most craziest things that I can think about. So when someone says that they want you, I would recommend run. Now, the reason why I say run is because I myself do not want to be owned by anyone. In my relationship, I want to have the freedom to be myself, to act like myself, and be respected because of myself. And I know those are weird to say, but it is true. If you can't be yourself, probably not the place you need to be in. So we're talking about, do we need both of them? Yes. You just talked about want. The positive and negatives, they are one and the same. They work together. They want. If you can't use those two together, it's something that I believe we all do constantly. But if you can't do them together, I think you have the wrong definition of want and need. Because you're probably using want as a negative and you're using need as a positive when they both have negatives and they both have positive. And that's why it leads me to my next thing is use them for good. Use them for good. Use your wants for good and use your needs for good. Because just as a positive has a negative has a positive, you have to use them for good. And what I mean when they have, I mean that when there is a positive in something, when you see something extremely good, you have to understand that even though that something is extremely good, there's also a extremely bad in there. But the beautiful thing about our world and the beautiful thing about being full and living in this world is that we have the decision to choose. Do you choose to do 100% good, or do you choose to do 100% bad? You know, if we become, and this is one of the things that I believe from the Bible, and it's one of the things that I apply to my life on a daily basis, either you decide what you're going to do. You decide to do good, or you decide to be bad. Because if you are in between and you are bad, good, you're going to be like the waves, be back and forth, back and forth. One day you are with good, one day you are with bad. And you don't make a decision for yourself because you want to just be in the middle, floating back and forth with what you think is right because you have no belief for yourself. We're talking about, do we need them both? Want and need. And I say they're one and the same thing. They work together. But you have to have the right definition for them. Want is ownership, a desire to own something, right? Possess. And need is a require or essential for your life. If you start seeing things in this manner, then you start understanding that I'm going to use things for good because I have a desire to own something, because I know that in my life I need this. I know that this is essential in my life, right? So when you look at life in this way, I need to have a job or a business because I know that I need food. I know that I need to have insurance. I know that I need to have a home. I know that I need to have a car for my family to go places, to travel, to do things. Those become essential. Why? Because you need them in your life to survive. You need a protection over your head because you need to have a place to sleep. You need to have a place to store your food. You need to have a place to lay your family down to sleep because they need it. They need rest as humans. We need food as humans. We need a place to store food as humans. We need a place to cook as humans. And we need a place to take care of our stuff by cleaning it. All of that becomes essential and becomes a need. But we cannot do that without having a desire or a want to do something so that we can have it and it can fulfill our needs in our lives. That's what I mean. They are one and the same. They don't work without each other. But you choose what you want to use it for. Ultimately, I'm going to tell you, use it for good. But we have a choice. Today you decide, do I want to use my needs and wants for good, or do I want to use them for bad? In this world we have both. But you decide today what you want to do. I encourage you to choose to use it for good. Use it for good. It's gonna benefit you 100 times fold. I'm telling you, it's gonna benefit you. Use it for good. And remember, one of the things that I talked about before in want, it's very simple. It was this. When it comes to do you want to be happy and love what you do, or do you want to make money? Because those are the two things right now in life that we're like, well, I want to do what I want. I want to do, I want to work, and if I love what I work, then I'll never work a day in my life. And then we go automatically to like, but if I work like this, I'll be able to make this much money and become super rich and be able to supply for my family. And it turns into, do you want to make money, or do you want to be happy and want to love what you do? Because sometimes loving what you do is not going to make you rich, but it's going to make you enough to take care of you and take care of your family. But you have to decide, what do I want? And be honest with yourself. But I tell you this, if you work for money, you are always going to have that concern that someone's going to take it from you, or you're going to have that fulfillment that you have a lot of money and you can do whatever you want. But when you have something that you love to do, the beautiful thing about this, and they both do this, but they do it in their own field and in their own sense. When you're just working for money, that's exactly what you're going to do. That's it. You're going to do everything possible to try to make that amount of money, the most amount of money that you can. But the thing is with chasing that money all the time is that there's always going to be someone richer than you are. There's always going to be someone who has more than you have. Always. And if you're on the top, you're always going to be competing with somebody who has that, right? And you're always going to be trying to protect your money. You're always going to try to, keep it secure. You're going to try to invest it. So it's not all bad, but it does have its consequences. Same as loving what you do. Loving what you do, you can wake up in the morning, supply for your family, and it might not make you rich. Or it might make you rich, depending on what you're getting into, right? But ultimately, when you do what you love, it's something that automatically comes out of you. And it's authentic. Versus making money, everything that you do is not going to be authentic. It's going to be just based on money. And that can turn upside down real quick, because now you're not caring about people, you're not caring about anything. All you want to do is make that money. Versus over here, when you love what you do, you care about what you do, and you want people to appreciate it. So you're going to do 100%. Are people always going to appreciate it? No. That's just the truth. But you are doing what you want. You're doing what you love. And ultimately that opens doors and opportunities for you to expand your area in other places. And that's the beautiful thing about doing what you love.
and also working for money. But again, they all have their sense of good and bad. Ultimately, again, you decide what you want to do. I decide to do the best for you. That's what I would say. Look into yourself and really think about, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do? Because ultimately, you are living this life. And the reason why I keep saying ultimately, because on the highest decision of your human life is that you get to make the choice of what you want to do. No one else does it for you. And if someone else is doing it for you, they have a want and desire on you, and they're owning you. And that is not healthy for human life at all. So I leave you with this positive note. You are in charge of your own life. Own it. Have a desire in your life that is good. Have that desire to, bring you the means that you need for need, if that makes sense. Because need is a requirement. It's essential to your life. While want is a desire and ownership of something. So I want you to keep that in mind, because as you go through your life today and the rest of it, you're going to have these two words that are going to be super crucial in your life. But today I want you to understand that yes, they are both necessary in our lives, and that I believe they are one and the same. They work together. Use them for good. Work together with want and needs, because ultimately they're going to feed what your life needs. Very important. So I hope that you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for being with us today on Make Limit Podcast with your host, John. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. All right, everyone. So we are at the end of our podcast for today. I'm super excited that you were here and joined us on today's topic, which was want and need. And we were asking the question, do we need them both? And we answered it, and the answer was yes. Yes, we need, and want at the same time, because they are one and the same. They work together. They were partners. They have to be next to you. They're like salt and pepper next to each other. They have their own individual things, but they work together. Again, want is something that you desire and you own. That's the way to think about it next time you talk about wanting. And need is a requirement, essential for their life. And ultimately, they work together. And we always encourage you to use the things that we say on here for good, because we know that they are powerful and they can be used for bad and they can be used for good. But we always say use them for good, because they will benefit your life and those around you. So guys, thank you so much. If you have Amazon Music or Audible, you can now listen to us there, and it's just amazing how you can just put it on there and listen to us on our episodes and the seasons that we're doing. We're in season 2, and I'm super excited for this. Again, another thing that you can find us is on our website on makelimitedpodcast.com. You can find us there. You can ask us questions there. You can send your messages there, and we'll respond to you ASAP. And it's so amazing that we are growing and being like everywhere around the world, and it's just super exciting to see that, because we couldn't do it without you. And we thank you so much for supporting us and being here for us and with us and listening to us and sharing us. It's just super amazing. So guys, thank you so much for being here with us today, and we'll talk to you next time. And thank you so much for being, we sincerely mean that, and we'll talk to you next time and wish you the best. Peace.